I'm old. I'm satisfied. And you were my purpose.
The Last of Us Episode 3 is one of the most talked about episodes that I can remember in recent times. And while some have hailed it as peak television, some have dismissed it for the simple reason that it did not progress the story, to which the answer is both yes and no. Some have also just purely avoided it because of the content of the episode. Now, I believe it is absolutely your choice on what you choose to watch. The issue that I am having is about these morons who have started review bombing it without even seeing it. Anyways, I am here just to give you my opinion. Do let me know how you felt in the comment section. Now, I have not played the game. For all I know, the game is even better. But I am here going to list 5 reasons why I think this episode is nearly perfect and one reason why it is just not perfect. Till episode 2, I was not invested in humanity's survival. Yeah, I know, right? How can I not care about humanity living such shitty lives in a post apocalyptic world? Guess I'm so used to seeing the zombie apocalypse concept that I have stopped thinking about the survival of humanity. But this episode reminded me what our characters strive for and why Ellie is so important. I have heard criticisms on the fact that it did not progress Joel and Ellie's story, but I would argue that after this episode, I cared much more about Joel and Ellie than I did before. And funnily enough, it was due to two other men. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. And in this episode, there are two, Bill and Frank. Now, let me admit, till now, I have not been emotionally or deeply connected to any gay couples in films or TV. Usually, I go like, yes, those two clearly like each other, but as a straight brown Indian guy, for some reason, it did not hit me. Until now. The moment Bill touched the piano, you could see Frank's face, and my god, the acting was so great in this episode. I knew at that moment that this is the episode. There is this stern alpha guy living in solitude in Bill, and then Frank appears out of nowhere as this charming, quick witted, artistic guy. And at first I was like, will this feel forced? But nah, that piano scene, man, I totally wanted them to get together, and this is rare for me. I also loved how the story of Bill and Frank ended, especially when Frank tells Bill that he has had plenty of bad days too, even with Bill. That just hit me. It felt so real. That relationship felt so real. That nuance is what makes this episode reach elite status for me. All the credit in the world goes to the creators and writers of The Last of Us, in Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. But for me, the star of this episode is the director, Peter Hoare. And after researching about him, I came to know that he is also gay. No wonder the episode felt so real. Now, I am not saying that straight people cannot direct gay people, but this episode just felt different. Apart from bringing the emotions from the page, this episode is gorgeously shot. There are multiple shots of the American flag that pops just at the right moments, reminding us about the country that once was, the dream that once was, and how fast it all went downhill. And this episode also has one of the greatest final shots in cinematic history, and no, I'm not exaggerating, with the camera closing in as it goes inside the room where the bodies of Bill and Frank lie. But the genius decision to not show the dead bodies was so beautiful. I left the episode with so much hope, yes, sadness too, but so much more hope on where this story can go towards. Like I said in the intro, it gives us, the viewers, a glimpse of the promise of humanity, and I think the last shot is absolutely perfect. We all knew this episode would be divisive. I mean, how could it not? It takes balls for a TV show of the stature of The Last of Us to dedicate a whole entire episode to a gay love story. And it is not a surprise that the episode is being review bombed. Yet, even after knowing all that, I think we got one of the best episodes of television in recent times, and kudos to the creators for taking the risk. Linda Ronstadt. I think everyone who watched the episode knows her name by now, and were quickly searching for the song that played twice in this episode, first by Bill on the piano, and then in the end, which was just like cherry on top. Long Long Time by Linda Ronstadt saw a 4,900% increase in streams on Spotify in the United States over the past week. Yes, you heard it correct, 4,900% increase. Apart from the song, I love the theme that played after Frank told Bill that he wanted to die. Tears started streaming and they did not stop for like 5 whole minutes. I was so glad that I watched this episode alone. I was a sobbing mess after this. Now that I have said why I love this episode, here is one reason that I don't think it is perfect and it's only nearly perfect. And that reason is it did not feel that Bill and Frank were part of the Last of Us world. Don't get me wrong, I do get how Bill built this amazing fence and all that, but I thought there is no way that these two men grow old together and die on their own terms, which they did. But again, I'm usually liberal when it comes to nitpicks and all. This episode left a stamp on me like no other episode in a long time. Overall, this episode gets a rating of 0 shots needed out of 10, which is my metric of how I will be reviewing movies and TV shows. 0 shots meaning I loved it, and 10 shots meaning I would rather die than watch it again. So, many thanks for watching.